What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is still me, Solomon Wisdom, and in today's lesson we'll be discussing other blocks that actually work and deliver high risk to reward results in the financial markets. For over 4 years I've been active in this space, teaching and trading smart money strategies. During that time I've identified the exact other blocks that can provide consistent results week after week. I'll be demonstrating this by sharing live results from trades I've taken alongside every student in our community. It's my signature style to showcase real-time price action from trade I've executed, not historical data, but real-time price action that works in the financial markets. So I focus on live price actions from the current trading week, and this can actually help you understand the strategy and know that I'm actually teaching you a genuine strategy that delivers results in the financial market. So exactly what I'll be teaching you will be done with the recent price actions and the trade I took with every student in our community. Okay, so I'll be sharing this today as the live examples. Now, you already know what order blocks means. Order blocks are zones we look to trade from. We usually buy from a bullish order block and we look to sell from a bearish order block. Now, trading from these order blocks means that these levels are possible reversal points. All you have to do is, once you're able to identify a valid order block, wait for price to come back for a test of that level before you look to get involved. In general times, we can look to call order block a key level, or we call it an area of value. These are areas where price respects so much. So immediately you see price returning to this kind of level, all you have to do is get ready to pull the trigger, because these are killer zones. Okay, now I'll be showing you examples of other blocks that has worked and offered high probability results with high win rates in the financial markets. The very first one I will be showing you right now is what I call the swing sweep order block. Now, what is a swing sweep order block? In this particular case, all we identify, and the major thing we actually need to identify, is where price sweeps the previous swing, right? Once price takes this previous swing of the current trend, this is a valid level, and you can go ahead and identify the order block we have at that particular level. So this is exactly what I mean in this case. So from this particular level, you see this is a swing high, price pulled back, this is a swing low, price prints a new high, this is another swing high, we have a pullback right here, this is a swing low. Now in this particular case, you can see that price is bullish. Now at this particular point, after price creates the swing low, price continued higher, breaking above this particular swing high. So price breaking above this particular swing high could be identified as a liquidity sweep, or it can as well be called a break of structure. Now, what is going to confirm this as a sweep of this particular swing high? What confirmed this as a sweep is when price returned to the downside, breaking underneath this low. I hope you can clearly see what price has been doing from this area. When price created this swing low, this particular one couldn't sweep it, but instead, after price creates this swing low, the next and the recent swing high was able to break to the downside, sweeping the swing low, which we all can as well call a change of character, and in general terms we can as well call it a market structure shift. So this means that price is shifting in its structure. Now at this particular point, this is where we can identify this as the sweep of the swing high. So seeing this right now means you've been able to identify the sweep of this swing high, and what can you do at this particular point? The simple thing you can do right now is going ahead to identify and mark out the order block we have at this particular area. So this is a valid order block that offers good results in the market. Note, we have other smart money confluence that can make this a high probability zone, but I'm going to give you two most important concepts I usually use to make sure that the zone at least is valid, right? Because this important concept makes it a valid order block. Other concepts like liquidity, order flow can as well increase the probability, but these two concepts I'm about to mention right now ensures that it's a valid zone before you can trade from it. Now the very first concept is what we call pricing efficiency, or some traders can as well call it a fair value gap. Now, from what you can see right here, you see price left a gap around this particular area. So seeing this gap right now means that this price action is not an efficient price action. This is an inefficient price action. And why is it inefficient? Price moved with bearish candles with at least high momentum. So this signifies institutional footprint in this market. Not only did price leave this inefficiency, it was able to break the next structure. So in a different case, maybe price sweeps an internal swing point, and at that point what you see is a break of structure instead of a market structure shift. You just have to note that it's still valid, and what you should do at this point is simply waiting for price to retrace back to this key level or area of value, and then you can look to trade to the downside. This is what we call a swing sweep order block, and it works like magic in the financial markets. So I'm going to show you a real-time example right now. Let's do it on the price charts. So this is a live example. This is on GBP AUD, is the 1 hour time frame. Now from the 1 hour time frame, this particular one is self-explanatory, not actually the one I want to use for this example. The one I want to explain is around here, but let's pay attention to what price has been doing around this particular area, because the one we have around here explains the exact thing I did on the price charts. Now, let's jump to the 30 minutes time frame. From the 30 minutes time frame, this explains it that price was bullish. This is the swing low, this is a swing high, price pulls back. This is another swing high, we have a pullback. This is a new swing high right here, right? Price pulled back again. This is price printing another swing high. Then what you see is that price moves to the downside again. So if you're actually paying attention, you would see that we have an internal shift around this particular area. After price did what? Swept the swing high we have around this particular area. Let me zoom in so you can see clearly. So this is actually an internal shift around here. Price takes the liquidity at the top of this swing high. Now this is what we call a valid zone. In this case, this is actually a valid order block. In this case, this particular one, I explained it last week, and from what you can see, price retested the level. If you actually marked the bearish order block, we have price sweeps the liquidity, and we see how price dropped to the downside. But this is the exact one I want to use for today's lesson. Now, if you take a look at the internal structure, because from here we already identified that the overall structure is now turning bearish, but let's see what price was doing inside the internal structure around this particular area. You can clearly see that the internal structure is bearish. This is a swing high, this is a swing low. Price moves to the upside, a swing high, a swing low right here. This is the most recent swing high, this is a swing low. Price moves to the upside, this is another swing high. So seeing this alone, this tells you that this is the most recent swing high. Now, why did we choose another block from here to trade from? We chose this other block because price went ahead to break underneath this particular swing low we have right here, and this is exactly what I call a market structure shift. This market structure shift simply suggests that the internal structure is now ready to align with the overall structure, which is bearish. So since the internal structure is ready to turn bearish with the overall structure, this is the perfect time to select your order block. So where is your order block right now? You go ahead, the whole of this range can as well be your order block, but there is what we call zone refinement. So refining your zone in this particular case, you see, this is your perfect order block. In this case, this is a swing sweep order block, because price sweeps the swing high, we have a shift in market structure. Then this is where we can anticipate that price comes back to retest this particular level. Now playing price forward, see, price came back, retest the level, and now we have the drop right now. So this is a perfect one, and this particular one was part of the concept I explained last weekend. The particular one I'm explaining right now is very similar to the range created order block, which I'm going to explain next. Now, this particular one right now is the trade I took this particular trading week, and you can see this is another swing sweep order block, because what you can see is that internal structure was bullish as well. You see, we have a bullish internal structure. If you want to read it well, you can drop to the lower time frame. You're going to see that this is a bullish internal structure. Now at this point, what we see is that price sweeps the liquidity above the internal structure. Now, if I want to zoom in so you can see clearly, this is price taking the liquidity at the internal structure, taking the liquidity above the high. Not only did price take this liquidity above that particular high, it also broke internal structure, which confirms a market structure shift in this particular case. This is a market structure shift. Now, identifying this alone is enough, and what I did at this particular point is selecting the order block right here. This particular trade, I explained it last week and I shared it to the community, and it was actually identified with my VIP students. So this was a simple trade opportunity. All we had to do is simply wait for price to come back for the retest of this level. Now, price doing this right now is simply price rebalancing some inefficiencies and building more liquidity to make this a high probability trade opportunity. Let me show you what this trade looks like when it was shared to our community. So this is the exact trade opportunity right here when it was shared to the community. As a matter of fact, the order flow was already bearish, which already increased the probability of this zone playing out. So this is what it looks like on the 2 hours time frame. Now, this was the trade when it was active and running about 2%. Now, the same trade when it's offered about 5% from aggressive entry, and if you're still using aggressive entry, this was when it's offered about 9%. So let's see the results while replaying price. So I have to play price forward very fast so we see the results. Now, price already built a lot of liquidity around here, which already made this a high probability trade opportunity. And finally, price came back to retest this particular level. And now this was when we start making money from the trade. And personally, I took my profits around this particular area. So this is the very first example talking about swing sweep order block, and it was actually a good one. So let's go back to the chart and explain about the second type of order block that will offer you good results and high probability results in the financial markets. So the second type of order block that will offer you high probability results in the financial markets is what I call a range created order block. So what is a range created order block and what does it look like? Now, for a range, from the name, you already know what a range means. This is more like an accumulated price, an area where we had a slow price action, just like the little sketch we have over here. In this case, if price doesn't sweep any swing structure, it's actually very, very okay. So from what I can clearly see from here, this is a swing high, swing low, swing high, have a swing low. This is the current high at this particular area. So when price printed this high, we started seeing slow price action, price slowing down a little at this particular area. Now, after price slowed down, you see price aggressively moving away from the area, making sure it left some price inefficiency. So if you see something like this, all you have to do right now is going to mark the whole of that range. Now, after marking this range, you can still decide to do some refinements, because refinement is very, very important. And other confluence that can actually make this a high probability trade and a valid one as well is if price leaves inefficiency, just like I explained. Secondly, if we have price breaking any structure at all, being it an internal structure, a market structure shift, as long as the momentum which price moved out of the range is massive and it's broke structure, it's valid. So once you've been able to identify this, all you have to do as well is to wait for price to return to the zone. Then you can look to short the markets from there. So I'll be showing you a live example as well, so you understand the idea. Now let's see it from our community. So this particular one is for NASDAQ, and it was on the 1 hour time frame, and you can see price was already offering 4% from here. This is the same price action when it was few pips away from our profit targets. Same trade right here when it got close to a profit target when it was active, and this is exactly the trade opportunity right here. So let's see it from the price charts. So this is NASDAQ right here, and this particular price action was on the 1 hour time frame. Now from the 1 hour time frame, if you look from your left, you can clearly see that NASDAQ was bullish, and a lot of people has actually made money from this particular bullish movement. I was able to bargain some profits from this level. I made some money from the bullish movements we have around this particular area. Now, at this point trying to spot new area I can trade from with students in my community. What we can clearly see is that this was actually a swing low, this is a swing high, current swing low, current swing high. So you already know that if price takes this low right here, you should be looking for a good level you can trade from. But in this particular case, price came, retested the swing low, little reaction, which creates liquidity. Very important. I hope you understand what happened right there. Then price continued bearish from there. After this liquidity was built, price continued bearish and started to drop to the downside. Now, when we had this price action, the simple thing you can do is try to identify a valid zone you could trade from. And looking at this particular area, you can clearly see that we have a range created level around here. This is a range created order block in this case. A lot of people might actually decide to select a single candle out of this range, because if you want to mark this key level currently, this is actually the whole range at this particular point. This is very simple. At this point, you see the level was created with a range, multiple candles, and you might actually see some people doing what I call refinements, where they might decide to select a single zone, because some people teach that you can select a single candle as your order block. But I like being at the safer side, because what I'm risking in the financial market is real money. So I usually select the whole zone and the whole range, so I will hardly lose my money. Okay, I don't trade with stones, I trade with real money. So I don't like selecting a single level or using tight areas as my zone. I select the whole zone as the range created order block, because just like the name sounds, you should be selecting the whole range, except the range is too big, then you can go for refinements. Now, it's a valid zone from what you can see, because if you zoom in, you will see the inefficiency we have right there. You can see price moving with a big drop to the downside. It broke internal structure and major structures as well. So a lot of people said this trade was risky. It wasn't risky because it met all the criteria. It even went ahead to build liquidity around this particular area, which makes it a high probability trade. Now, playing price forward, you can see price came back, mitigates the zone and starts to drop. Right, starts to drop, and from what you can see, price dropped from there till this point, where it offered about 5%, but personally I made 4% from this trade. And after that, you see price continued bullish after it mitigates a zone around here. Well, it didn't actually get to the zone, but instead it rebalanced the inefficiency we had around here and moved away. So if you trade from fair value gaps, I just want to believe you actually caught this particular trade. So for traders who wait for other blocks, maybe you're actually waiting for the one right here, you missed the trade. You miss trades even with the concepts I'm teaching you right now. Now, we'll be going to the last example, but are you still struggling to find your foot in the financial markets? This is time you join our community of successful traders. These traders have mastered smart money dynamics. A lot of traders in this community are funded. Our mentorship program offers supportive environments where knowledge is shared and results are tangible. By just looking at the reviews we have right here, you can see that what we offer is real and these are genuine results. And the genuine results we have is what I use week in, week out for our YouTube community, teaching traders who can't afford to join our community. Now, for just $216, you can gain the skill to become a confident and independent trader. All you have to do is to pay right now and enroll for our mentorship. This mentorship comes with an advanced smart money course, which is going to help you, weekly chart breakdown, VIP support community, premium possible setups, and weekly Zoom meetings. We meet every week, at least twice a week. So you can go ahead and risk your $216 to gain the knowledge we share and be part of the supportive community. Back to the lesson. The last one we have right here is what I call S plus R OB, which is a combination of swing sweep and a range created OB. This particular one should be very clear, no need for much explanation. Now, from what you can clearly see right here, in this particular case, you already know what the swing structure is saying, price is bullish. Now, at this particular point, you're able to identify that we have a range around this particular area. You see, price slowed down a little, and you know what a range means. Now, after price was slowing down, before price moved with momentum to the downside, which was able to break this major structure we have down here, which you can call a market structure shift. Before we start seeing that, we actually identified that price took out the liquidity at the top of the range. You see price sweeping the liquidity at the top of the range. This is why it's called swing plus range, which means price took out the liquidity before the drop. Now, at this point, what you have to do is simply identify that level is still valid. Now, alternatively, what if maybe you have something a little bit different where the top of the range is actually a little bit high, but price was able to sweep some internal structure inside the range. Maybe price sweeps liquidity inside the range before the drop. This particular one is still valid as well. You can go ahead and mark your order block. Very simple, marking your order block this way. But truth be told, if I'm to mark my zone as well, I will look to include the high of that range. Maybe do some refinement. It's better to miss than to lose. Okay, now this is the way I'll definitely mark my zone. So this is actually the last type of order block which I've been able to identify in my 4 years of trading in the financial market that have yielded good results in the markets. Let's see the trade from our community, then we see the live example on the price charts. So this particular one is on, I think, 30 minutes time frame. Same setup when price was offering about 2.7%, and this is the trade opportunity right here. Just like I said, it was shared on the 30 minutes time frame. So let's see that card CHF. So this is card CHF, the 30 minutes time frame. If I try to zoom out based on the 30 minutes time frame, you can see that price is actually turning bearish from here. Price has been bearish, even though we have this particular swing high that went to rebalance some inefficiency, mitigating the zone around here. But from what you can see, the bearish price action and the order flow has aligned at this particular point. Now, taking a look at this particular area, you can agree with me that we already have a range around here. This is actually a range, and if you try to extend, it's already a valid zone. But before that, what I was able to identify here that gave me the confidence to take this particular trade is the internal sweep right here, because inside the range we saw a liquidity sweep around here. Not only did price sweep liquidity, price moved with candles with a little bit of momentum, and it broke this internal structure right here. Not only did it break the internal structure, it also took out the major structure we had around this area. This automatically makes it a valid one. Now, talking about high probability, price left some inefficiencies as well around this particular area. I can't really spot it from these charts, but from my main charts I use for my trades, I saw inefficiencies around there, and price also built some liquidity around this particular area. So this is a valid trade opportunity. So marking the point of interest, which is the exact order block we'll be trading from. This is what it looks like right here, and playing price forward. Price came back for the mitigation, and we have the drop from that particular area. This is a perfect example of what I've been teaching you today. Order blocks that offers good results and offers high risk to reward in the financial markets. I believe this lesson has impacted you in one way or the other, and I believe after now, the first thing you're going to do right now is trying to backtest it to be sure that it actually works before you start applying in the financial market. So thanks very much for watching this one. This is Tiomi Solomon Wisdom. If you're totally new to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks once again, and see you in the next lesson.